I don't know it's right or not, but according to what I heard, that his advice was correct, but yeah,
the king sometimes
didn't listen to his advice.
But
Like normally the monks, they can see the, I mean, the
រាំងសាមន្តប្រសាបំផុតក្នុងលោកាជាគ្រូនៃមនុស្សនឹងទេវតាទ្រង់ត្រាងទេសនាប្រដៅសត្វចង់អល់ឲ្យដាផ្លូវកំដាមាគៀត្រកាអាចកំចាត់ទុំភ័យចង់រៃអើយចាយបាត់អាចកាន់សង្សាររាំងទុំបានសាសនាព្រះអង្គនៅសំថ្ងៃសន្មាននិស័យពីបុរាណរឹងរៀនប្រឹងស្ដាប់ចេះចាំបានកាន់តាមលំអានបានក្ដីសុខអិនមានសុខណាស្មើក្ដីស្ងប់បញ្ចំត្រឹមសុខឃ្លាតការទុកតាំងពីលោកនេះតទៅមុខក្ដីសុខនឹងមានព្រោះធម៌ស្ងប់ខ្ញុំសូមបង្គំពួងព្រះធម៌ព្រះសង្ឃបវរ
the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Again, my deep respect to Venerable Mahasangha and greetings all friends in Dhamma around the globe. I am Zakan Tim, live from Seattle, Washington, USA, with Sister Jenny Chim, who is also live from Seattle as well. Today's moderators for the Dhamma discussion. Welcome to Dhammika Life Dhamma Sadhana program. Before we begin our discussion, I'd like to inform that this program is brought to you by the Dhammika Life Foundation, which is led by Venerable Sophia, who currently resides at Wat Kamara Potiram, Seattle, Washington, USA. This program purpose is to aim at propagating the Buddhist teaching in both languages, Khmer and English. Our regular program normally starts language shifting interchangeably every Friday at 9 p.m. Cambodia time and 6 a.m. Seattle time. However, for just this Saturday and Sunday only, Dhammika Life Foundation has a special topic we want to share to all our Dhamma friends, and is pleased to host this live Dhamma talk show in Khmer language yesterday and now in English today. So our main purpose for this program are to disseminate Buddhism locally and internationally, bringing on the attention of the Buddha's teaching that is related to our daily life in society, and especially among the youth, simplifying the teaching from the ancient to the modern world, promoting the awareness of Buddhism in Cambodia to the world, and promoting peaceful and mindfulness, living through ethics, concentration, and wisdom. So today we are pleased to present you a very interesting topic called Samdech Junat, in order to commemorate the occasion of March 11, 1883. On this day, March 11th, in the year 1883, Samdech Junat, the Supreme Patriarch of Cambodia, was born. So we'll find out more who he is, what are his accomplishments and his contribution to the society. Again, it is such great privilege to have our four distinguished Dhamma speakers to join with us today. Before we begin our Dhamma discussion, I would like to have our sister Jenny to introduce our today's speakers. Okay, Jenny, take over.
Thank you, Sister Zakan. And I'd like to pay my respect and homage to the Triple Gem as well, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And I'd like to say hello to all of our audience today as well. I'm actually really excited to be part of this discussion today because I've always wanted to learn about Samdech Junat ever since I was a little girl, and before I even before I even knew his name. So mostly because at every Cambodian temple that I go to here in the US, I would always see a picture of him. So I knew that he played a significant role in Cambodian Buddhism, but I didn't know how. And unfortunately, not much is written about him in English. So I'm really excited to learn from our panel team today. And first, before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you all. First, we have Bante Kasapa Hon Kamara. He's the Executive Director of International Cambodian Buddhist Center, and he is also a meditation trainer. Currently, he's staying at Vipassana Dora Buddhist Center in Odong of Cambodia, and he is also the Director of Cambodian Child Development Center for Special Needs Children in Sri Lanka. And we also have Venerable Bante Sokdevi. He is the founder of Dhammika Life Foundation, a non-for-profit organization aiming at promoting Buddhist teachings. Bante leads and teaches Buddhism and in English courses to help Dhamma friends to better understand not only the English terminology, but also the Buddhist teachings and chanting. Bante's latest publication is Dhamma Terminology, and currently he is residing at Wat Kamara Potiram. Next, we have a brother Noam Chani, co-founder and lead trainer of Vipassana, and he's author of a national best-selling book, Meditation for Energy of Life. He also was a former monk for 16 years. In 2019, he devoted himself to run from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap in order to do fundraising cause for Angkor Hospital for Children. And last but not least, we have Sister Sophia. She is the Executive Director of Cambodian Center for Human Rights, As one of the country's most prominent human rights advocates, Sophie's work has been recognized by former U.S. President Barack Obama. She is a recipient of the Indian Asian Youth Award and the Franco-German Prize for Human Rights, the Rule of Law. She holds a master's degree in international peace studies from the International University of Japan. Sophia is also a human rights blogger as well. So again, I'd like to thank you all for being here, and I like I said before, excited to learn what you all know about Samdech Chuon Nath. And I'll go ahead first with Sister Sophia. Can you give us and share with us a little bit of his biography?
Thank you so much, Sister Jenny. And first of all, my great respect and homage to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And my respect to our Dhamma speaker tonight, as well as our co-speaker and moderator, and also greeting to all Dhamma friends who are now following our Dhamma talk. So today it is my great honor, and I'm very pleased to join this important show that we want to, pay our gratitude to Samdech Chuon Nath. With many of us may know him, but probably we don't dive deep into his life and his great achievement. So on this occasion, this discussion will help our audience to to go back a bit how Samdech Chuon Nath have been through during his life and his legacy that have left for all of us. So as a younger generation, I'm not living by the time that the Samdech is living, but we have learned about his life, his work through certain textbook, and because the legacy that he left for us is a lot, so we have learned a great deal from his work. So what I have known about Samdech Chuon Nath, beside the fact that he was born on the 11th March, so that's why we try to rest the topic about him just a few days before his birthday, back in 1883. He from what I have understood so far about his life, and I have always great respect to all vulnerable who have been devoted their life through the monkhood. So I'm very grateful to learn that Samdech Chuon Nath have become the monk since he was 14 years old. Since then, he stayed as the monkhood. So I have a high respect to him and to other venerable, as well as our master venerable as the speaker tonight as well, who joined us. So what I want to highlight, I think 2 points about Samdech Chuon Nath from my knowledge is that he has been known as the guardian of the Cambodian culture. The word guardian is so meaningful. It's those who help to protect, as the protector. So he was known as the guardian of Cambodian culture, and many of us may know that his great legacy was the translation of the entire Buddhist text or we call Pali canons, or in Khmer Pratrai Baidok. So that is a very great effort that Samdech Chuon Nath together with the team have devoted throughout their life, so that it paved the way for us to learn the Dhamma up to now. That's one. And second, many of us may use his dictionary all the time. Personally, I consult with him all the time. I mean, I said that I consult with him all the time because every time when I type certain word that I'm not sure of, I always check dictionary. When I proofread our publication, we have been careful about the Khmer word, so we always consult his dictionary. So that's why this equally entitled him as the guardian of Cambodian culture, and probably without his effort, we may not be able to to have the Khmer language that up to life nowadays, as well as the the Buddhist text or the Bali canon that we all have learned. And beyond that, he have contributed a lot into the Cambodian culture, but also not just the culture, but the national affair. For example, we may know that he have composed the national anthem. It's called Nokoriet, the national anthem, and as well as the Pong Sawada Khmer that describe about how the nation, the Khmer nation, have been through and as a great nation. So all of these have been still up to our time, and anytime we respect the national anthem, I believe that we should appreciate the fact that Samdech Chuon Nath have envisioned how we as a nation should be united. We as a nation should be, compatriot and try to contribute to the nation, as much as he devoted in the text of the national anthem and the Pong Sawada Khmer itself. So that is my first observation about his work, is the guardian of Cambodian culture. But secondly, I have learned that we can say that he have been known as the national and regional Buddhism champion. Why we said so? As I mentioned earlier, his great effort is the translation of the Bali canon, but a lot of the Dhamma teaching, the text have been have been described in an easy way so that lay people like us can better understand from the Bali and into the Khmer language. So and beyond the effort in the publication itself, he have composed many poems, many publications in a way to help not just the lay people, not just the in terms of the Dhamma discussion or learning, but how we also conduct, as a citizen, toward the nation, toward the to become a good citizen. So that is a great achievement and as a great contributor in the Cambodian Buddhism. But beyond that, he have been known in the region. He have been assist, not just in Cambodia, but he have been influenced in like Myanmar or in Laos or in Sri Lanka. He play a very great role in the region to help those nations to visualize and to enrich the Buddhism even better. So that's why he have been recognized with his effort through many recognition, and even in Myanmar they have granted him with a very great title, as the most respectful Buddhist monk in Myanmar. So that is, if to me, I have never known that fact, but when I read his biography, I feel so much proud. How how much Cambodian scholar like him have extend his knowledge beyond the Cambodian territory, but throughout the region. So yeah, so in short, I would just say that he has been known as the guardian of Cambodian culture, and he have been known as the national and regional Buddhism champion in many countries. So before I end, I would just highlight his great qualification is that he has been known as the person who have a very great effort, very strong determination in studying, in work. So that's why a lot of legacy that we have seen, it was because of his great effort. And I would say one of the Dharma talk by Venerable Master Pensai that I used to listen. He have a great he have great admiration for Venerable Chuon Nath for that great effort. He mentioned that Venerable Chuon Nath, devote most of his life, even at the end. In his last breath, he still worked. So that's why we still see the unpublished work by him. And later on, the lay people, the people try to compile them and have it published. That publication known as Samdech Chong Kroi, or the last work by Samdech Chuon Nath. So I learned a great deal, and I have that inspired me a lot about his great effort as well. So I would end here and let other speakers to also join. Thank you so much, sister.
Thank you, Sister Sophia. Yeah, I've never heard of the term guardian of Cambodian culture being referred to him, and I think that the little that I know of him, that title fits him perfectly. And thank you for sharing with us. I'd like to ask Brother Chani if there's anything you would like to add and what you know of Samdech Nath.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, and my respect to the two master speaker, and also in honor of Venerable Master Chuon Nath on his birth. Sister Sophia already described and mentioned a lot about him already, but I just like probably add a little bit more. I was a monk for about 16 years. So he was one of the most, I would say he was like the early role model, because when we look at his book, the Khmer dictionary, because for us, it's easy when we read, when we use, but if we imagine how much hard work, how much determination that he does. So it was, he was unselfish, selflessness, and he worked effortless in order to create this for Cambodian people. We could imagine without his work, without his book, without his identity, we don't know what can happen to the whole Cambodian generation. A little bit more on his background. He became a novice monk at 14 in 1897, and then he became a fully fully ordained as a monk in 1904. He was born in a very small family with only 2 kids, him and his brother. His brother also one of the prominent back then, called Oknya, so Point Mantri something, and what I also admire about his work, the Venerable Master can add more, but this is who he is. The last of his life, he resided at Wat Unalam. Wat Unalam probably most become popular for tourist sites as well. mostly when people visited Cambodia, when Analao was part of his cultural place as well. Right, I'm located near the riverside, quite close to the royal palace. Samdech Junat also, Sister Sophia was mentioning that a few times he was not only influent in Cambodian Buddhist, but in Myanmar, in Sri Lanka, in Laos, he led Buddhist delegate a few times to those different countries to help initiate World Buddhist Association and also the Buddhist Conference to gather and recognize as a World Buddhist community. That was a really big job. That was a really big job, and he was recognized by the World Buddhist community. He was really depth in language, not just Cambodian, but we could imagine in his work. So he could speak Cambodian language, Lai, Thai, Sanskrit, Pali language. Sister Sophia was mentioning that he managed and operate the whole translation of Pali Canon, Sanskrit, to the Khmer language. That was a really hard work, and I could imagine his determination. I could imagine his effortless, because for us just write one simple article, it was already hard enough. But look at him, thousands of pages, and the language that he combined from different provinces throughout the country, and compare different other languages as well in the region. And also to add a little bit more, that Sophia was calling him the guardian of Cambodian culture. He was the Buddhist angel. He was the Cambodian Buddhist protector, Cambodian Buddhist care. He sacrificed his life, sacrificed his whole body, his whole heart, mind, determination for the benefit of many, for the benefit of Buddhism, for the benefit of the younger Cambodian, younger generation. So I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of admire for him. Again, beforehand, I couldn't imagine without him. I mean, look at our Khmer language. So this is what a great achievement. Not just within Cambodian community, but in the Buddhist community in the region and also in the world as well. Because he was leading a big group of delegates to initiate the World Buddhist Association in Sri Lanka. So again, that was a really hard and was really big work. I have a lot of respect and admire for him. Thank you.
Thank you. So he's known as the Cambodian Buddhist angel in care. This is actually the first time that I've heard that we describe him as the, like Jenny said, the guardian of the Cambodian culture, and Buddhist angel, and he knows a lot of languages also too. So that's great. And I was to pursue. I have a questions on the roles of what were some of his roles. So I wanted to move on to Venerable Soktivi. What were some of his roles both in religious and secular sectors? So when you enlighten us with a little bit more on that, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. So I would like to share, if not everything about his titles and honorary title, including the roles that he played in the Cambodian Buddhism as well as the Cambodian culture, and he was, given the title fit to his capacity and ability, his knowledge. As two of the moderators were mentioning about his great achievements and his great skill, I might call him as a multi-skill, because he is a well-rounded person, not in terms of his knowledge, but also his good conduct, his virtue and morality, and his farsightedness. And most importantly, like Brother Chuni talked about, his capacity in using the language. So it is important to spread the Khmer culture and the Khmer Buddhism to the world when the leader has a great capacity in knowledge in languages. If I were to count, he knows Pali very well, very clear. He knows Sanskrit very clear. He knows French very well. He also knows Vietnamese, Burmese, and Laos, Thai. So I think at least 7 languages that he could use, for the communication to the world. And during his time, because he was born in the 1883, and then at the age of 14, he became a novice monk in his hometown, Kampong Speu province. And then at the age of 21, he ordained as a Bhikkhu, full-fledged monk. And then he went to study in Kandahar province. And later onward, he went to study and reside in Wat Unnalaum until the day he died. He was spent most of his life in Unnalaum monastery, Wat Unnalaum. And we could see his relics also was enshrined in Wat Unnalaum still. And okay, let me just briefly list some of his titles in terms of a Buddhist title that he received. So it started from the 1910. At the time he was 27 years old, and then he already received the the monk title, which we call a monk minister by the time, by the name of Preh Balat Sakshabot. So Preh Balat Sakshabot is also very high ranking name, like in the area, in the district. And then by the 1912, he received another title, Preh Kru Sang Sattha. So it was the first honorary title of the monk. And then in 1931, he received another title called Preh Sasana Saupwan. And next, in 1940, he received another title, Preh Puttako Saja, which is the secondary title of the monk. And then by the 1944, he received another title, which is the first honorary title of the monk, called Prepoti Wangsa. And then by the 1948, he received another monk title, which is the most prominent one, as we may already know, is the Preh Mahasometia Tapadai, which is the Mahasangkanayaka of the Mahanikaya sector. And then in 1950, under the patronage of the King Sihanouk, he was given the title of Samdech Preh Mahasometia Tapadai as the Mahasangkanayaka of the Kingdom of Cambodia. So this was a great title in terms of Buddhism in Cambodia, or the Cambodian title based on Buddhism. And again, I also would like to rest about his great honorary title that he received from Myanmar, the Union of Myanmar, as Sister Sophia already mentioned a little bit about that. So it was in 1954, the Union of Myanmar granted him the very distinguished title called as Akya Maha Pandita. Akya Maha Pandita was like the great scholar monks. And this is one of the highest or one of the most prominent title ever given in Burma. And again, 3 years after that, in 1957, because the Union of Myanmar appreciate what he have done to the world Buddhist community, as well as for the benefit of the Buddhism in Myanmar, because Samdech Chuon has led 3 times the Buddhist delegation to join the summit or the International Buddhist Conference, the 6th International Buddhist Conference in Burma, we call Chapter Sankayana, in order to compile and compare the Buddhist text, the Pali Tripitaka. And 3 years after that, it was in 1957. So the Union of Myanmar, confined him, offered him the most distinguished title. That time, it had only one title, only one monk that received that title throughout Myanmar. So Samdech Chuon also received that title, representative Cambodia, and the title is named Preh Apitejya Maharatta Guru. It was the greatest and the most prominent title ever given by the Union of Myanmar. And then about the another, some here, what I read from the other sources, I found that there were 10 medals that he received from different countries, including, from Cambodia, from the French government, from the Lao government, etc. So altogether, there were 10 medals placed upon him or were given to him due to his great sacrifice and great contributions in terms of the social work, in terms of the literature, the cultural work, as well as the work in Buddhism. So I just mentioned much of this, and will let Venerable Gaspar to add on to that. Thank you.
Yes, Venerable Gaspar. So what were some of his roles, both in religious and secular sectors?
Okay. Thank you very much, sister. And let me pay my homage to the Triple Gen, dear Venerable Sirs, especially Venerable TV and other speakers and moderators. Besides the fact that Venerable TV has been elaborated, what I want to emphasize is not because the title has been listed and has been mentioned. What I want to say, his leadership was amazing, was extraordinary from the childhood up to the Supreme Patriarch of Cambodia. When there is a case, he, along with his colleagues, compiled a book. It is called the Samanera Vinaya, the disciplinary codes for the novices. And he challenged thousands of monks in Cambodia who had practiced the wrong, rules against the Samanera, against the novices at that time. And novices, Samanera at that time were underprivileged. They were, treated by the monks, by the devotees, because of the ideology prevailed at that time. And he compiled a book. And you know what happened? All the monks in the country filed a case against him and his colleagues. And they went to the king. And they were very clever. What they did before the case started file is they bring about 4 books, for the reference for the king, that what they write is not something against the culture. It's kinds of a restoration of the idea about the real Buddhism. So finally, he won the case, and the king, as Venerable Soktivi said, he was very, nationally accredited scholar and prominent scholar at that time, and many prominent, Cambodian scholars, monks, and lay people invited him and treated him as advisor for many, organizing committees. So, what I want to emphasize is he was self-confident. He was self-determined. If he feel that he's right, he will do. So, and he headed kinds of how to call that, the rationalist scholastic movement for the Cambodian monks. He changed the mindset of Cambodian monks. He criticized what is wrong at that time, even our ancestors imposed on us. And he told the king, during the case, he told the king, "Dear king, what I did is not against the culture. What I did is to reform and to make it correct for the next generation. So, and what I did is not according to my philosophy. What I did is according to the Buddhist philosophy. So you can check." So he was very brave among the thousands of monks and the high-ranking monks who filed the case. And there are 3 suggestions for them that, for him and his colleagues. Samdech Nath and his colleague must disrobe and leave the leave the monkhood, because they are destroying the culture, they are destroying the monastic life, and there are many complaints. So, but finally he won the case. So this is what, and every day, even as Sister Sophia said, he went to radio discussion. He wanted people to understand the real meaning of or the glory of Khmer literature. And let me say this: why he was considered or treated as the guardian of Cambodian culture. You know why? Language is the great identity of each and every culture. That is why he challenged, he sacrificed his entire life to have the Khmerization. So language is very important. The way we think, the way we talk, even the way we dress, based on our language. That is why he is regarded as the guardian of the culture. He hosted many radio talks, and he answered many questions related to the Khmer literature language. So, and he was the president of the Pali school at that time. And in addition, what I want to say, yes, he was internationally accredited and recognized scholar. He was a prominent scholar, and even to be honest, when I read the letter, I think written by according to the Sri Lankan scholar, he said this is the handwriting, and this is the letter sent from Cambodia by the Sangharaj of Cambodia during 50s and 60s, like that. And I read that, and the letter was extraordinary. It was very beautiful, and it was written in Pali. It was written in Pali. It kinds of, you write a letter by email, so it was written in Pali. What I can understand is that he can read Sinhalese. He can, and even the Sri Lankan Sanghanaya can read Khmer. His international relationship was amazing. That is why Honorable Sophia said he is, all-rounder scholar. In terms of proper conduct, in terms of keeping relationship with other country. And I read that he was invited to Laos, to help the Lao Buddhists to have their their Tipitaka or their Pali Canon translated into Laos, but unfortunately, Laos people cannot translate into their own language because they did a big mistake. They deleted some alphabets from their own language. So this is a big tragedy happening for Lao people. But fortunately, among the Theravada countries like Sri Lanka, like Thailand, Cambodia, we have our own identity. That have our own language. We write Pali, our own letters. We translate that in our own letter. And Khmer is very rich language. You know why? Because Sanskrit in Pali are the richest language in the world. So Pali and Sanskrit are our mother and father of our Khmer language. That is why he is our, God, I use it. He's our great protector, everything, because when you protect the language, you will protect the culture. So I have more, but yeah, that's all from me.
Thank you. Venerable Toktabia mentioned he has 10 medals. I mean, who in the right mind that anybody can have like 10 medals that's being recognized, probably nationwide in 7 languages. And Venerable Gaspar mentioned that the language is very important for us to communicate. And I admire his confidence and self-determinations. And that is very, very important for all of us. If we have that, can you imagine they go against him and his colleague and just trying to, destroy him, all the work that he have done. But he is so confident in what he's doing. And so I admire that very much. And so we have Jenny to go over to, if you have any other questions, Jenny.
I think that it's really interesting that there was a faction that went against him and his work and his team. It just reminds me of what's happening today too. Just that conflict that us humans tend to have pretty often, and it's still relevant to our history even today. But I think that it's not only just his confidence that speaks volume, but the courage that it must have took for him to go against the grain as well. And I just find it also super interesting that that even though they were accusing him of going against the Cambodian cultural aspects, that he ended up being somebody who protected our cultural identity and cultural roots. Thank you so much for that, for just that extra information, Bante Kasapat. And I just wanted to, if there's anybody that wanted to just add on anything, any contributing to any more of his legacies for Cambodia and Buddhism. Bante Kasapat, would you like to add any more to that?
I'm sorry, sister, can you repeat the question?
I'm just wondering if you had any more to add regarding his legacies for Cambodia and Buddhism.
Yeah, sure. He had a dream. Let me say before that. He met a ascetic monk in Cambodia, we call Tudong monk, and exchange a lot of experiences and knowledge. And he was moved, he was motivated to go to the forest and practice. But during the night, he had a dream. He had a dream that he went to the mountain and he enjoyed so much inner peace there. But within few hours, he floated up to the sky. and he saw the entire world is in need of his help. And then, yeah, he got up from the dream and he kept analyzing the dream, dissecting the dream. And he came to realize that my job, okay, going to forest, it's great. It's a real peace. But my job is not done yet for my nation, for my country, for my people. So I must study the entire Tripitaka, the entire Pali Canon, for the sake of my nation, for the sake of the world. So he was broad-minded and far-sighted. That is why he sacrificed entire life. From he became a novice until he died, as Sister Sophia said. I mean, when like at the night he was writing and adding some more terms, more words to the Khmer dictionary, and yeah, something happened to his heart. I mean, according to history, and he was treated by the doctor. But on the second day, it's like even he was about to die. He wanted to visit his work, and besides the literature, besides the religious activities, participation in international conference, Venerable Sophia said, he also, upgrade the architecture, the Khmer architecture, that's amazing. And he contributed to build temples and school for the children. And not only that, he built a kinds of town hall for some state officers, I mean, who were underprivileged. So I mean that it is obviously evident, according to Venerable Sophia said, he was all-round scholar, everything. He did everything for our nation, and yeah, and not only that, he was advised to the king, to the minister, and I heard that one story that he was motivated to disrobe and to become some, I don't know, and he gave a very brave answer. He said no, being a monk and serve the nation is much better, and I have pride about that, and I can have kinds of like he told that I can sacrifice my entire life for my nation, for religion, and I can find more peace rather than having money, having everything like you. That brave answer motivated king to respect and to love him more than before. So yeah, inspiring story, but we have less time. So thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Bante. Yeah, I find it just really interesting that he wasn't just a scholar. I mean, it sounds like he was also an engineer if he helped contributed to building and temples all throughout the country. And I know that we've been emphasizing that he's been provided so much to the Cambodian nation and the region. And I'd love to see his vision come to life when, the whole world is expanded by the Dharma and inspired by his work too. And to think that so many of the Cambodian diaspora, we're spread all over the world right now. So we have the potential to spread his work and his legacies all throughout the world. And Bante Sophia, would you like to add anything else regarding the legacies that he's contributed to in Cambodia and Buddhism?
Yeah, I just talk a few main points because Venerable Kassapa have already covered some and will leave some for the next two moderators as well to talk in terms of his legacy. So first I want to talk about his legacy for the Cambodian Buddhism or Khmer Buddhism. When we talk about Cambodian Buddhism or Khmer Buddhism, the name of Samdech Chuon always appear in our heart, most specifically based on the translation of the Khmer Patrai Beda or Tipitaka. And we should be proud at this point, the world know that Cambodia was the very first country who have completed the translation of its, Khmer language from the Pali canon. So we were Cambodia was the very first country who have done this completely, translate the Tipitaka, Pali canon into our own language. We should be proud at this. And the work of the translation, it took a very long time, almost 40 years. It started from the 1930 through 1968, just 1 year before he passed away. It took like almost 40 years to complete the entire translation of the 110 books of Tipitaka. Because in Khmer Tipitaka, we have 110 books. Unlike the English Tipitaka, we have less, maybe around 40 books or something. So it was very extreme dedication, not just Samdech Chuon alone, but there was a group, a teamwork, and all of them were very well versed in the Pali, Sanskrit, and also the literature. Otherwise, they cannot do that, It's effortless in this kind of dedication. It took 40 years, similar to, the Angkor Wat was built. It was built almost around 30 years to complete the whole infrastructure of the Angkor Wat, or what we know to the world now as the Angkor Wat. It took 40 years. It's almost the same thing. See the great dedication, the great legacy that our ancestors have left for us. So like the King Jayavarman VII and the King Suryavarman II, who were the builder of the Angkor Wat, and for 1,000 years it remains still to smile at the world, to attract the world to come and see. In the same way, Samdech Chuon and along with his colleague have worked effortlessly, to left the legacy for us. That's why we have the Khmer Tripitaka version in order to study the teaching of the Buddha. Otherwise, we would not have any reference, for learning Buddhism. So with that, we owe a great deal of gratitude to our late, Samdech Chuon. And next, I would like to talk about his great contribution, legacy to the Buddhism, international or world Buddhism, not just for Khmer Buddhism, that they have tried effortlessly to, to protect Buddhism from falling down in Cambodia. As you know, under the French colonization, a lot of things have been, degraded in terms of Khmer literature and also the practice of Buddhism by the time. And so what contribution that he has contributed to the world Buddhist community, just like we mentioned earlier, a little bit of that about his, leading the delegation, Buddhist delegation to join the World Summit, the World Buddhist Summit in Sri Lanka during the 1950s, I believe, and that led to, the decision of assuming or put in use the Buddhist flag that we see nowadays. There are 6 colors of the Buddhist flag, right? So we should remind that was also one of the work dedicated by the our late Samdech Chuon. He was leading the group of delegation to join the World Buddhist Summit in Sri Lanka, and then also he also led to other countries like Laos, like specifically in Burma, that it led to what we call the Sixth Buddhist Council was held in the Union of Myanmar, and that place, there is a big cave that they built in order to conduct this World Buddhist Summit. So during the World Buddhist Summit at the time, by the 1953, 1954, and 1955, to complete this whole World Buddhist Sixth Buddhist Council, it took like 3 years, and we should remember that the language was used at that time was the Pali language, not Khmer, not English, not Chinese. So we understand that the Pali language is so important in studying the Buddhist scriptures, and so the scholar by the time they were very well versed in the Pali language. That's why they could communicate each other very easily, So that later onward, he also used to join, led the Buddhist delegation from Cambodia to join in the Jakarta, the city of Indonesia, where he joined the Visakha, the International Buddhist Memory Days of the Buddha Day. So he also ordained a few native disciples in Indonesia, and this is pretty much covering about his legacy for the world Buddhism. And next, I would like to talk about his great legacy and achievement for the Khmer culture and Khmer literature, more specifically about the Khmer culture. And it was very inspired for me. I got very inspired by his dedication, especially in terms of literature, because I myself, I love the writing. I love the Khmer handwriting. I love the poem. And I myself also was a poet. I like writing Khmer poems combined with the Buddhist teaching. I used to previously started from the 2012, I started to write, to do the handwriting. I composed some, some music, not music. I mean, I composed some lyrics and for the Buddhist song and also for the Buddhist poem. So I was inspired by his, some of the literature work, like the poem itself that reminds Khmer people to keep their identity. Like yesterday, I talked in Khmer already. I don't want to repeat it in English version because people might not understand. So just to kind of sum it up, the literature and the poem that he have written inspire a lot of younger generation to work hard to preserve the Khmer language. And it would have lost, during the French colonization. Otherwise, if there was no person like him to trying to protect the Khmer culture, and it was very controversial, by the time. If we remember another prominent, Khmer literature scholar, also by the name of Keng Vansa, and there were a lot of supporters for his idea as well, but Samdech Nath gained the royal, decree to compose or to start writing the Khmer dictionary. So he completed 2 parts of the Khmer dictionaries, and most of us, I think all of us, are using his Khmer dictionary as a reference in terms of writing or for the spelling checking, etc. So his most his most prominent legacy for me, I feel it was about the Khmer language, the Khmer literature. Especially, he compiled the 2 parts of the Khmer dictionary that I'm using every day, of course. So thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to learn, or I know we've talked a lot about his work regarding on the national level, but it's really interesting to me because it's a little bit more recent. I'm really interested in the role that the French colonialization played during his time, and from one of the only things that I knew of was that he went against against, French colonial, sorry, it's a big word, but basically he was an advocate of preserving our language, and without his advocacy, maybe, the Cambodian letters, and we wouldn't even be using it right now. So brother Chunni, would you like to add anything to that aspect of like that time period?
Thank you, Jenny. Regarding to that period, I might not have anything to add because Master Khmer already mentioned all of those things already.
Is there anything else that, is there anything else that you'd like to contribute as regarding like his legacy to Cambodian, to our culture and Buddhism? I just wanted to give you an opportunity if there's anything else.
No, I mean, not much to add because sister or the two master been described really well. I mean, well said all of his legacy, but I just want to say this for Cambodian people like in our country or who reside all parts of different world. It's important to learn more about his life, but also it's important to take his role model, to take his energy, to live a life today, to practice what he was sacrificed for our country. And one thing that I also read about his life, that when he was alive, every evening, it's a very practically, and he keep doing it every day. Is every evening he give Dhamma talk to all the students who live in the temple, and also he open to those visitors. I mean, a certain probably afternoon he give the time to visitors for those who want to understand more about Khmer or about Buddhism or about culture. But every evening he lead the Dhamma talk. Every evening, no matter what, how busy he is, or he didn't complain about his sick or anything, but he just does it every day as his duty to help support those who are desire to understand more about Buddhism or Cambodian culture or the language in depth. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think growing up, all the elders are always saying, learn Cambodian, it's who you are, remember who you are. And I just it makes me wonder, were they inspired by his words as well? All of his music and poems, and even the national anthem, was that venerating with people like my parents? And that's why till this day I still get it, and I still till this day it's like, are you talking Cambodian to your kids? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm trying to remember. So I make some effort, but to admire, to learn about Baong or Samdech Chanut, it inspires me again to it's really important to preserve our language, because it is a part of our identity and who we are. Sister Sophia.
Yes, thank you, Sister Jenny, and thank you to both Pante and Brother Chunni for sharing quite comprehensive already. But for me, I would say that I observe three great legacy that he have left for us. Similar to what Pante have already mentioned, is the Buddhism or the Dhamma. That is the great legacy. Of course, the Buddhism and the Dhamma have been taught by our great guru or the Buddhist, the Buddha. But as the monk, as the one who we call the one who helped to preserve the Dhamma teaching, is a very great effort, for those who help to preserve those into life. So the translation of the Pali canons in a way that we as honorary citizen can easily to learn is very great deal. And that is also important reminder for us, to read, to learn, because imagine, how much effort that, Samdech Nath and the team have put you know, throughout his their life. You know, it's not an easy task. You know, like it consists of over 100 books. You know, like for that. So you know, for those who devote their time, their effort to translate, and for us who just learn and read, probably that is the inspiration for us to start now. If we don't, if we have not yet started yet, so please start. And so one is the Buddhism and the Dhamma teaching, and second is the nationalism. I feel, you know, much of the effort that we have put into the Khmerization, the creation of the Khmer dictionary, and the effort to preserve the Khmer language, as Ponte Kasapak had mentioned. You know, the language is important identity for any nation. So for him, I mean, for Samdech to struggle through the time where Cambodia was under French colonization and with many rivals, you know, like in protesting his Khmerization effort. It's not an easy job. For us who just, you know, now learn the language, we can, you know, easily check the dictionary. But imagine how much effort that our ancestors, like Samdech have put forward. So a reminder for us again that, you know, before we write something, if any word that we are unclear, just check the dictionary. Don't just, you know, write something very, you know, completely a wrong typo. Of course, you know, human can be error, but, you know, just respect to the fact that, you know, our ancestors like Samdech have been paved the way for us. So that is second thing. But beyond, within that nationalism, I also believe his effort in building the international relation with other countries, like in Myanmar, Laos, or Sri Lanka, through his Buddhism mission, that also helped to build the relation between Cambodia and other neighboring country or in the region. So to me, I feel that, you know, that's also contribute to the national interest, even though, you know, he have extend his support to other. But when I say nationalism or being nationalist here, it does not mean that Samdech have been selfishly think of the national interest. But what I try to say is that, you know, like thinking of being nationalism with a the feeling that, you know, the need to help other, to help, you know, regardless of the race or, you know, the distinction between any country. So that is second legacy to me. But the last point of the great legacy, personally in depth with me, is is his qualification, the great qualification that he had left for us to learn from. I feel that, you know, the great qualification as a great monk, as a great human, you know, with a great compassion. So as I mentioned since the beginning, you know, I admire for his great effort. You know, all of the work can be done because of his great determination or effort, and with the great wisdom and also with the great compassion. So, you know, it's not just about the legacy that he left in text or in, you know, in terms of translation that we talk, but I think the quality as a human being, as a great monk for all of us to look through. That is also one of inspiring legacy for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great. Why don't we just call him, because he writes the dictionary, and he has great qualifications on almost everything. He's like great architecture. we can call him the king of language also too, right? The king of language, king of the writer. So that's thank you for sharing. I've learned a lot from everyone. This is actually the first time that I actually get to have this highlight a little dissect of all the contributions, all the attributes that he had achieved, and I'm very honored to sit here and be a moderator to hear all four Dhamma speakers to share this to us, and hope the audience love it as well and learn a lot. And I would like to ask, since Sister Sophia just finished, I want to ask, what have you learned from his life and as a younger generation as well?
Thank you, Sister Sakon, for giving me time again. As I emphasize lastly in my word, I have learned a great deal from the quality as a great monk and as a human being. That is inspired me a lot. So the qualification that I could observe and that is in my heart is the great effort. I emphasize this a lot because I could imagine, much of the legacy that we have been talking could not be done with his great effort. And I read his bio, I learned that, and compared to Buddhist life, the Buddha life, I think Brother Chuni also recently joined with our colleague in sharing some of the mindful session, and he emphasized about the work that the Buddha is doing, or we call Potakat. So the Buddha have spent much of his life and per day, like within 24 hours, how much the Buddha has spent his effort. So similarly, I learned, the Samdech Nath have spent of his time per day very effectively. Even in the morning, afternoon, and evening, like the Pante Kaspa had mentioned, he also spent time to talk through radio, to disseminate about the Khmer language or the Dhamma talk with other monks. And even at late night, I read a text and that mentioned that even he spent time with the late king to discuss about the national affair, and he spent very little time for sleeping. So, but he's still very energetic because of his great effort. So that is the quality that I feel I should learn from him. That inspired me a lot. I don't know how much we could do, but I believe that he have learned from the Buddha path, and we all have affirm that we pay our homage to the Buddha, so we should follow the Buddha path the same way as the Samdech Nath have followed. So that is one great effort, and second is the great compassion, that the quality that I feel, for a person who spend much of his time for not himself but for others, for the nation, and with the courage to fight through even within a very restrictive region during that time of the French colonization. He still tried to preserve the Khmer language, the Khmer culture. That is a very great compassion by him, and this is something that we all should learn from. And if we all can learn through that, I believe that Cambodian society will be better and the world will be better. Thank you so much.
And Brother Chudney, what have you learned from his life, and as a younger generation, what would you do to preserve what is left for?
Thank you, Sakon, for question again. I think Sister Sophia have mentioned much, but when hearing his name, what his achievement and all his legacy. So myself personally, I do learn a lot from this show as well. I think from this moment, from this second, from this hour, in order to honor him, to honor his work, we Cambodian here or Cambodian anywhere, should open our heart to learn more about our own language, to understand more about what the Buddha's teaching and what Samdech Nath has done on his work. So learn to understand more, to observe his energy, his capacity, his spirit, his role model into ourselves, so that we can become a part of his spirit, so that we can do better job for ourselves, for our own nation, for our own world as well. So the three important things that I learned from him: number one, his compassion to sacrifice, to do all his work without selfish, without caring himself, but what he does is care about his own generation, his own nation, but Buddhist community as a whole, not for Cambodia, but for the whole world as well, because he also initiated the World Buddhist Association. So number two, his commitment and his effort to start and to finish, not just to start and let it be, but to start and to finish. Like Venerable Sophia was saying, to translate entire Tripitaka Pali Sanskrit into Khmer language, it took almost 40 years. So in almost the same time where Uncle Wat structured the foundation was building. So this is a really big determination, really big commitment. And the last is his heart to build the thing for last, not to just build it, but to build it and to set a role model, to set the great sample for Cambodian generation and for Buddhist nation as a whole. So this is the three things that I learned from him. Once again, in order to honor him, to honor his existence as a true human being, we should be more open to learn about his work and to understand, like some people saying, to preserve Khmer as well. Whenever we write, if we know that it is not clear, go and check his dictionary so that we can be very clear with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, as a mother of 2 children here in America, oftentimes there's always an assignment where you write about somebody, an inspirational person that you're interested in. And I definitely will be encouraging both my children to do research and do their assignment regarding Samdech Nath as their person to look up to, or just an interested figure for them. So I'm going to use that opportunity for them to learn about Samdech Nath. Bande Devi, is there, if you were to be talking to my children, my 11-year-old son, what would you like to say for him in order for him to kind of grasp this idea of honoring somebody such as Samdech Nath?
Yeah, I would introduce Samdech Nath as first and most importantly, he was greatest guardian of Cambodian culture and literature and Buddhism. Yeah, that is the 3 words that I want to introduce. He was the great guardian of Khmer culture, Khmer literature, and Khmer Buddhism. And on the other hand, if we explain a little bit, there must have been much great persistence, great perseverance, great resistance, in preserving the Khmer culture and the Khmer language, during the colonization of French in Cambodia. You know, as you may have learned the world history, especially about what had happened in the United States of America, there were a lot of resistance, there were a lot of fighting, there were a lot of racism. You know, it has a lot of suffering when we talk about what happened in the past. So under the colonization, what it felt, you know, for us as a native, for us as a local people, you know, what the foreigner might have done to us in the past. So I brought up this idea because there was very great fear of loss, not just in terms of lost the life, but lost the identity, you know. So Samdech Nath, among other great scholars of the time, might have been so scared of loss, but not their lives, their identity as Khmer, their language, their culture. And when we read the history, the French was trying to change the language for using in Cambodia, not the Khmer language. They want Cambodia at the time to use the French language, you know. So it must have been a great effort in trying to preserve the Khmer language. So it was very great and inspirational, you know, when we talk about how much he have, you know, resist to the idea of changing the national language for Cambodia. Otherwise, we would have used maybe the romanization of the French language or the French letter, you know. So it is so important to preserve our identity and to realize, to know the root where we're from. And it is important for Khmer American as well, you know, especially for the parents to really teach their children the root where they're from and the culture, what they used to have. And this is so important. And Samdech Nath, if I were to, you know, use another name for him, is that he was the real Khmer patriot. You know, he have a great sense of patriotism in preserving the Khmer culture and the Khmer Buddhism, because he was afraid of the loss of Khmer culture and Khmer identity, you know. So let me just put 5 great words that I want to introduce about him. So I would say there was a great skill, great capacity, great knowledge, and great wisdom. So this is the first great word that I want to introduce about him: great skill, great knowledge, great capacity, and great wisdom. And secondly, that it was a great dedication and a great contribution, you know, in terms of what he had done for us. And third, it was a great leadership. So he has a great leadership. Otherwise, he would not have, you know, led his teamwork to do what he have done for today. And it must have been a great teamwork as well, as I already talked yesterday as well. You know, teamwork is so important for us to do something. And if we don't bear in mind, if we don't have the patience, if we don't have the true courage, honesty, you know, we cannot work together, right? If people just work for the self benefit, so it is not going to last long. So there must have been a great teamwork during that time, especially when talking about the translating the Tipitaka. It took 40 years. Imagine how many generations, how many of them, you know, some of them were passed away during that time, but you know, the work kept going on. So it is important to have teamwork in order to have something done, you know, in a long project. And another great thing is that the great cooperation. So this great cooperation also will have the work be successful in terms of even the locally and internationally. So Samdech Nath has this great quality that he know how to keep maintain relationship, communication from country to country in order to spread Buddhism and unite Buddhism and unite the Buddhist people and to bring Buddhism into awareness to the world. And again, I just would like to stress on that a little bit. I want to talk about Samdech Mahakosanand, as Jenny also was very inspired by his work, Mahakosananda Vayao. He was also the student of Samdech Nath, and how much great effort he has put, for the sake of Buddhism, not just for Cambodia, that we have learned about him, his legacy for, leading the walking process, marching from one province to another for the sake of peace, for the sake of political stability in the country, and also the non-violence idea. He was working with other Buddhist leaders of the world, and he also a six-time nominee to receive the Peace Nobel, presented by the Japanese, presented by America, United Nations, and other countries. So it was very great work, and he was one of the students of Samdech Nath. And what I want to emphasize about him was that even he was very, very popular, even more popular than the Dalai Lama. But why he was not so well known to Cambodian people? Just ask ourselves. And one thing, I think, because maybe our people at the time, we were not so well knowledgeable. We don't have much skill about technology, about propagation, about the media, and like the Dalai Lama, why he was so famous, why he was so popular. If we were to compare their knowledge, there might not be so much different, right? But I think what we lack as a Khmer younger generation is that the power of teamwork, the power of, to promote our great scholar. We have a lot of great scholar, but we don't have people to promote them. Instead, some people even, have the idea of jealousy, of envy toward one another. Oh, this person know more than me. This person, popular than me. This person have more benefit than me. If we think about that, we cannot promote our scholars to the world, and we will not be known to the world. So it is important to keep this idea that Samdech Mahakosanand, was a great human being who have ever existed in this world. The world has given him his name as the Buddha in the battlefield, the Buddha in the battlefield. Some people call him as the living Buddha. Some people have come into contact with him, always appreciate about his legacy, about his attitude, about his way of life, about how he reacts to the world, about his compassion, about his greatness, etc. So I just want to emphasize that without great teamwork, our work will not remain for the next generation. So we must build great teamwork, like what we are doing right now in the Microsoft team. I think it's a good model for all of us, and we all got inspired from our previous ancestor like Samdech Nath. So today, as a younger generation, we should work hand in hand, not just for self-benefit, but for the benefit of our culture, of our country, for the benefit of our nation and Buddhism. Thank you.
Thank you, Bante. I couldn't agree more. And thank you for bringing up Mahakosananda. He was one of the first monks that I kind of looked into, as far as the first Cambodian monk that I looked into to just gain inspiration. I was just looking for a role model to look up to that represented Cambodia. Very interesting. And I highly, highly recommend and suggest us doing another talk on Mahakosananda alone too. I think it would be so amazing. Yeah, I think that with, Cambodian culture, ancestor honoring is such a big deal. It's something that, we do at every holiday, and every special occasion, we're always honoring our ancestors. And I think one of the best ways to honor our ancestors is preserving our language and cultural identity. And I think that, due to the war, we're finally picking up the pieces, and we're finally learning, and we're not just adjusting to surviving. Now we're able to pick up where our elders left off, and yes, they preserved and they were able to hold us down a little bit, but now I think it's time for our generation to take it to that next level, and of what you're saying, teamwork, to promote, to build, bridges and, just to strengthen it, because I think the world can actually learn a lot from the Cambodian history, and the fact that we preserved our language, we persevered through the French colonialization. I think that is extremely admirable, because in America, we're constantly talking about colonization and how that's affected people of color, and how, people of color have begun to lose their identity because we're adjusting to this bigger, culture. And, there's a lot of people who are like, how do we gain that back? And Cambodian, our history is so fascinating, because we've been able to do that all throughout history. Bante Kasapa, I would love to hear your last words and your last thoughts too, that you would like to spread a message to the younger generation as well.
Yeah, thank you, sister. After listening to the entire show, it was inspiring, and I got a great inspiration. But I remember a discourse in Anguttara Nikaya. Buddha said, the disciples of the Buddha, monks, nuns, like lay devotees, female and male, will glorify the Dhamma. Okay, they will glorify the Dhamma when they are competent, self-disciplined, self-confident, well-educated, and experts in Dhamma. And finally, when they are practicing according to the Dhamma, they will glorify the Dhamma every day. So these qualities are manifested in Samdech. He has everything. So what I have learned, if you want to help the country, you must be equipped with great knowledge, great wisdom. You must be ready for that. For example, when you go to the war, you must well train, otherwise you will be killed, at the battlefield. So if you want to help the nation, it's for everyone, you have to help yourself first. And what I learned from him, second thing, is great international relationship. And he was the member, he was the advisor, he was the president of different organizing committees, in Sri Lanka, in Indonesia, in Laos, in Burma. And let me say this, we forgot that it was a 7-day ceremony. It was the greatest ceremony in the country. He went to Sri Lanka, he went to India, and he was impressed after seeing the relics of the Buddha. He told the king to make a request to the Indian government to give us or like the relics of the Buddha and his two great disciples, Venerable Moggallana and Venerable Sariputta. So he was a great monk that has the ability, has the capacity to motivate the king, to organize such a big ceremony in the country. He was extraordinary. So and second thing is, this is what I learned from him. Okay, we have a lot of excuses when we do something. Okay, I have criticism, I cannot do that, I cannot, I have a lot of challenge, it's hard for me. During the French colonization, what happened to the citizens of that country? We were underprivileged. But admit, despite the influence, impact, and the maltreatment from the French government or administrative system, Samdech never ever give up his mission, his vision for the country. What I understand is, from his dream, I can read that my nation, my country first, my life is second. So this is his motivation that keep pushing him to reach, have had the Untitled translated and the Khmer dictionary. This motivation is amazing. And what I learned is, he never changed his vision and mission. No matter he was, accredited any kinds of posts, any big, designation given by the king or honor by the king, he never changed his vision and mission for the sake of the nation, for the sake of the country. And what I learned is he was very compassionate, and he was, kinds of a flexible mindset, how to deal with the French government, how to motivate them, how to explain them. And that is why we need for our young monk and young generation. Let me read this, okay? He headed a reformist movement in Khmer Buddhist Sangha, which developed a rationalist scholastic model of Buddhism. This is where we need for the modern society. Monks must be rationalists. It means that our analysis, our explanation must be based on the knowledge and the rationalization. We cannot just talk. We cannot just give a talk. So that is why before the king, even it was a big case was filed, and before before the French officers, he was brave to talk because he was self-confident. He was competent with his knowledge about everything, about every language, and he was rational. He was rationalist in terms of everything. So this is what I learned. And the okay, so the final one is what I want to say. We must respect every culture. We must respect, the great work of the heroes of every country, like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King. Each nation has their own heroes, but the education system is corrupted because we upgrade only the scholars, only the heroes of other nations, but we never remember and let our young generation understand it. These monks are great. From the age of 14 until the age of around 86, 88, I don't know, I forgot, I'm sorry. His entire life is for us. The way he talked, writing, thinking, everything, his entire life is for the nation. So, but we never value, we never dignify our own hero. Something wrong is there, but we know that. But if we cannot change the entire society, we must change ourselves and do it. Because I do believe that something better than nothing. We can do it. Because Samdech Chuon and his team spent 40 years, to get the entire scripture translated. To change the mindset of young generation. If 1 week, if 2 years, if 10 years doesn't work, no need to worry. No need to worry. But then second, inspiring story I learned from him, his team is, I told you that they compiled a book, Samanera Vinaya, discipline record for the novices. There was, so much criticism and challenge and, cases was filed. It took quite a long time for his team to win, to challenge that everyone that their ideas was right. So what I want to say, what I understand is, authenticity takes time. We must be patient to reach our goal. So this is what I learned from his entire career as a great monk for our nation. So this is we must learn if we love our identity. So I mean, it doesn't mean that we look down others. It's not about that. When we know our identity, when we value our identity, we will respect others. This is what I want to understand. When you don't, I mean, if there is a nation doesn't dignify, value its own identity, will never grow, will never develop. So we need that identity. We need to bring it back. We need to address it. We need to dig it and give it to our next generation, no matter how hard it is. So that's all from me.
Thank you so much. It's such a great topic. I know that Jen and I, we were just texting, messaging each other. I know our time runs out so fast, but it's such a wonderful topic that we love to learn some more. And I know our time passed a little bit, but like Venerable Caspar say, authenticity takes time. So we're taking time on this. Right? Okay, and so before we end our live show, I'd like to share the merit from the Dhamma Dana with all living beings in the whole universe. May all be happy and peaceful. Oh, sorry, Venerable Caspar, you have something to say?
I want the moderator read this. I will send you it to the messenger, okay? Group, the Dhammic Life group. Okay, read it. You can read it and you can conclude the session. Okay. Did you see it?
Yes, I got it. So let me read this special words here, what Venerable Caspar sent to me.
It's a translation from our song.
Okay.
Written by Samdech Chuon.
Okay. So, all Khmers, please remember the root and history of our great country. Our boundary was wide and well, known others always, thought highly of our race, and always placed our race as the elders. We have great heritage and culture, which has spread far and wide in the Far East. Religion, arts, and education, music, philosophy, and strategies, all that we have spread. All Khmers, please remember our roots and history, which speaks of the grandeur of our great race. Make up your mind and body and try hard to rebuild in order to lift the value of our nation, to once again rise to the greatness that we once had. This is very powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much. That is very powerful message from him. So anyway, once again, thank you so much to our honorable speakers for sharing with us today. Finally, I'd like to express sincere thanks to Dhammic Life team, founder, directors, advisors, members, admins, and technical teams for providing such a wonderful support to make this program possible. Last but not least, thank you everyone for joining and following our live show as always. Now let us spend a few minutes practicing Metta Bhavana, loving kindness meditation, which will be instructed by Bhante Caspar Hun Camera. Thank you and goodbye. Our Metta meditation begins.
Hello everyone. Let us practice loving friendliness meditation for oneself. Self-loving friendliness meditation is the first section of metta meditation. Self-loving friendliness meditation is designed to direct you to happily take care of yourself, to honestly forgive yourself, to truly accept yourself without conditions. Before starting, please find a very comfortable posture. Close your eyes. Relax your head, your shoulders, your arms, and your entire body. Please slowly take a very deep breath 3 times. When it is done, let your breath flow as naturally as it does. Observe your breath without judgment, reactions, and criticism. Just merely observe it as the way it is while you are listening to my Pali Metta chanting. Aham Now, please create a very tender smile on your face. Visualize your happy and smiling face. You are a very happy person with smiling face. Please keep smiling with honest heart, because you are going to bless yourself. Please be aware of the phrases which I am going to recite, and let yourself honestly feel the real meanings of the phrases. May I be well and happy. May I be free from hatred. May I be free from ill will. May I be free from anger. May I be free from physical and mental sufferings. May I take care of myself happily. May I take care of myself happily. May I take care of myself happily. Now, take your right hand and place it on your chest, and you can mentally repeat after me. In this home, we are family. We live under the same shelter, so we must be kind to each other, be compassionate to each other, be friendly to each other, help each other, respect one another, be happy every day, keep smiling with honest heart, be grateful, be positive, forgive even when it's really hard. Before open your eyes, please take again a very deep breath 3 times. Thank you. May you be well and happy.